Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is the story about what if Naruto had a dark Otsutsuki Kekkei Genkai, and was Hamura's descendant. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. So without any further ado, let's start the what if. 2 definite losses, her teammates would defeat her. But could she beat the others? Sabaka no Gaara, Kankuro and Uzumaki Naruto. Niji had commented about the blonde Genin rookie and how he could be dangerous, but she hadn't seen him fight at all. His last opponent had simply forfeited after some talk. The puppeteer and his poison she could probably deal with, but that Gaara kid looked like he was ready to murder everyone. She was glad she was not up first. Today's matches were Rock Lee against Uzumaki Naruto and Kankuro against Gaara. Lee would never forfeit against anyone, so they could all see if the blonde deserved to still be in this final stage of the Chunin exams. So how's this work? The puppeteer seemed to ask everyone. You win you get points, you lose you get none? How about ties? Currently, all participants were waiting at the same platform they were waiting last week, a balcony overlooking the fighting grounds. The stadium was already filled with people. Tenten actually knew, but was waiting for someone else to answer, so she looked to the others. Niji hadn't responded at all, leaning against the wall with his eyes closed and his arms folded. Naruto simply frowned once and then shrugged. Gaara seemed to be glaring at an unfortunate cloud in the sky. I don't know, but I want to know too. Lee answered enthusiastically. The kunoichi sighed. You win you get 3 points, you end up in a tie you get 1. Loss equals 0 points. I guess you're gonna end up with 0 points, kid. Kankuro snickered as he addressed Naruto. Don't understand why a brat like you is still in this. Naruto didn't respond. The Kagutsu user snorted and turned to Lee. I don't like Leaf-nin, but do me a favor and keep your children in check. Kick this kid's ass, would you? It brings me great joy to see you rooting for me, foreign ninja-san. Lee bowed deeply to Kankuro. I will try my very best in this exam. The ninja from the San looked disturbed at this display. Forget everything I just said. You're up, Lee. Tenten announced. Lee used Shunshin to get to the fighting area as Niji prepared for some good observation. To their surprise, Naruto was already down there. Now we get to see how he fights. Tenten's thoughts mirrored Niji's speech. As the proctor called for the match to start, Naruto held up his hand when Lee seemed ready to rush at him. I will not hold back, Lee-san. Lee jumped once in excitement. Neither will I. And then the black-haired boy rushed forward with Konoha Seppu. But Naruto dodged by ducking and continued by simply pushing Lee to the side. Lee instantly turned back and performed a roundhouse kick, which was just as easily dodged. This continued for about a minute with Lee trying to get a hit in and Naruto simply evading. You're good, Naruto-san. I believe I will take you seriously. His blonde opponent nodded his head once. Please. Lee crouched to go for the weights around his ankles. Prepare yourself, Naruto-san. He casually threw the weights over his shoulders. Once the weights made their impacts on the ground, the entire crowd was flabbergasted. 2 craters were formed. Wait, what? What's up with that insane amount of weight? Kankuro, shut up. Stop being surprised by everything all the time. Gaara semi-ordered. Looks like he is finally getting serious. Tenten laughed as she was about to enjoy this. His opponent doesn't seem overly concerned, however. Niji had his Byakugan active. His body language is actually quite telling. He is bored. What? Both Kankuro and Tenten responded intelligently. Lee used speed equivalent to that of Shunshin to attack Naruto, but the blonde still dodged his first advance. Confused but not deterred, Lee continued with punches, kicks and even grabs, but Naruto still was out of reach every single time. Lee paused his assault and jumped back, going over the situation. He was very much puzzled as he watched how Naruto seemed to be cleaning his ear with his finger. Surely he has figured out by now I cannot use ninjutsu or genjutsu. I know nothing about him. Lee clapped his hands, garnering Naruto's attention. Your time to attack me. I need to know his strength, his speed, his fighting style and his techniques. He seems to have developed himself quite well defensively, perhaps his offense is different. Lee readied himself as Naruto pulled his finger out of his ear. Are you sure about this, Lee-san? I highly suggest you get on with those gates of yours. Lee flinched. You know about me. This is great. But inwardly, he was a bit shaken. His opponent didn't seem to be worried at all about this fact. Fight me. Lee chose to yell. Alright, here I come. Lee got into stance when I didn't see him move. Niji's arms were hanging by his side limply. I hope I just blinked or that went completely beyond me too. Did that kid even move? Kankuro clenched his fists. 1 second they were talking, the other Lee was sent flying hard. He's faster than Lee. Niji concluded. Don't blink. This guy is something else. He reprimanded himself mentally. He couldn't hold it in. Lee vomited. The blow to his stomach was hard. He had never been hit that hard, not even by Guy-sensei. He's strong. Niji was right. At the moment he was supporting himself on his knees, but it was taking all of his might not to drop to them. Lee-san. Open all your gates. You won't stand a chance, otherwise. Managing to reel himself away from the pain, he looked up at his adversary. What? He narrowed his eyes in shock. He must be bluffing. He is a rookie. Even Jonin have a hard time fighting someone who has even one of the gates open and active. You don't believe me? Naruto nodded his head. I will show you, then. The kind taijutsu user almost glared, but instead opted to focus on opening the first gate. Naruto looked on intrigued. First gate, gate of opening. The gate of opening allowed him to use 100% of his muscles. Lee got into stance again and used his now extreme speed to get behind Naruto and kick him in the neck. Only to have his leg grabbed harshly, and found himself swung into the ground very, very hard. A crater was formed. Let's see you get up from that. Lee only managed to groan in pain as he could feel that his shoulder had been dislocated and his dominant leg had probably been broken. Hey, I did warn you. We're in a serious competition. It will do you no good to not go all out. The blonde continued as he turned away from him. I guess it's over for you with your body like that. He started walking away. Niji was at loss for words. So easily. This is impossible. Tenten was gripping the railing very tightly as she was leaning over it. Lee! Get up! What just happened? Kankuro couldn't follow the movements at all. Even Gaara seemed intrigued. The Hyuga amongst the participants swallowed thickly as he assessed the situation. He moves like a Jonin. Efficiently and deadly. He must be dealt with in the same way. I don't think Lee can do that. Niji's gaze hardened. I don't think I can either. Who is this Naruto? Up in the stands where the Jonin were observing, Guy was curiously glancing at Kakashi. Your student is fast. You trained him well. Lee seems to be down, but he has tricks up his sleeve, my rival. Naruto is quite a special case, though. Opening and closing gates probably won't change the outcome of this match. I suggest you tell your student to forfeit. I see. You have gathered information. How splendid. Your confidence in your student is also very youthful. But you will see what I mean when Lee gets serious, my friend. I hope for your student that Naruto doesn't get serious. Guy frowned at that, but turned back to the battlefield as Lee had started moving again. Yes, that is a better direction to take. Naruto grinned as he started walking back to Lee. Show me how strong you really are, Lee. Lee was gritting his teeth in pain as he managed to open the second celestial gate. Second gate. Naruto frowned at that, though. It seems it puts a lot of pressure on him. Did I injure him too badly already? Gate of healing, open. His frown deepened as he saw Lee rise up to stand face to face with him again. It seems it doesn't heal you, it just allows you to stop feeling the pain. How deceitful a title this gate has. But it seemed Lee could walk, perhaps his leg wasn't broken after all. Or did this healing gate heal it in an instant? Very curious. Now energized, Lee felt the lack of panic in his opponent and pushed himself further. Third gate, gate of life, open. Fourth gate, gate of pain, open. Steam seemed to be coming from Lee as his skin turned red. Interesting. Let's see if you can touch me now. Naruto taunted as he finally settled into a stance. Lee bended forward a bit, feeling the power running through him. He was still able to open one more gate, but he didn't want to. Maybe he could defeat his opponent with this already. Here I come, Uzumaki Naruto-san. What the fuck is happening to that guy? Why is he red? Kankuro was now also leaning over the railing. He seems super strong now. Even Niji was surprised to see his teammate in this state. I didn't know he could open more than the one gate. Neither did I. Tenten responded. And then Lee moved. Guy's eyes widened. How is he keeping up with that? Where are they? It's futile. In the crowd, the genin that got kicked out of the competition were all seated together, observing the coming two battles. Sakura was seated between Sasuke and Kiba. Behind them was Team 10 and in front of them were Hinata and Shino. Sasuke had his Sharingan out. Lee is moving to the tune Naruto is setting. It's actually quite frustrating to watch. I believe to have an inkling to what you perceive. My bugs speak of an insurmountable amount of chakra exuding from Naruto. Your usage of words make me understand that Lee is moving around in Naruto's chakra, making it unlikely, or impossible, for Lee to trouble Naruto. Ichen. What happened? Naruto wasn't like this in the academy. I would have known. Sakura turned in her seat to regard the usually dozing Shikamaru. You're actually awake. I don't know what you guys are on about, but are you seeing this? I'm glad I'm not in this Chunin exams anymore, that Lee is crazy strong. Ino interrupted. Perhaps you should focus on the fact that Naruto seems to be even stronger. Shikamaru deadpanned. Ino glared. I know, Shikamaru. I've even seen Naruto defeat Sasuke-kun a few days ago. I am not happy about that. Sasuke frowned. Wasn't he the one who wasn't supposed to be happy about that? Enough. I've had enough. I can't believe this. You guys are just calmly accepting this? Ever the boisterous type, Kiba jumped out of his seat. That dead-last Naruto is dealing with that super strong genin like it's nothing. Kiba-kun. Hinata tried. He's trained a lot. Yeah, a shitload I'd say. It's strange, though. It's almost as if Naruto has faced someone like Lee before. Shikamaru was leaning forward in his seat in interest. His confidence and his skill, they remind me a bit of Asuma-sensei. Coming to a halt to take a breather from his assault on Naruto, Lee took some time to regard his opponent. Naruto was finally facing him seriously, it seemed. But this was very worrying. He was going all out and he won't be able to dish all this out for much longer. Naruto was keeping up and, to his dismay, quite easily too. Throughout his attacks, he also realized Naruto hadn't been attacking him back at all. He assumed it was because he was too fast for the blonde now, but that was definitely not it. The younger genin was simply enjoying this battle. He was trying to drag it out as much as possible. It alarmed him a bit to know that it would probably be very bad once Naruto started attacking. This made him come to the conclusion. What are you doing? Naruto narrowed his eyes in disappointment. That was the limit of the duration. Shaking his head as he deactivated his current gate status, Lee bowed deeply. My deepest apologies, Uzumaki Naruto-san. Naruto actually flinched and took a step back at the intense apology. It seems I have reached my limit and I am not ready to face someone of your level yet. Please give me time and in the future I will give you a proper match. The black-haired boy was still bowing. I have realized this match only had one outcome, with you as the victor. He rose from his bow and faced the referee. I forfeit, referee-san. Naruto sighed as the referee accepted this. Ugh, only forfeits so far, huh? Lee. Forfeited? Tenten blinked in disbelief. Lee doesn't even forfeit against Niji, ever. Smart. Niji responded to Tenten's increasing disbelief. Naruto. He's too strong. Unknowingly, Niji was clenching his fists. That brat won. Kankuro couldn't believe it, like many others in the stadium. Lee was crazy powerful, but gave up. Are these Leaf Nin serious? He's stronger than Baki. Gaara surprisingly spoke to Kankuro. The puppeteer actually flinched when Gaara stood next to him. I will kill him. Kankuro threw a fearful look at the battlegrounds where he would have to fight his younger brother next. Please, don't kill me first. His eyes went over all the craters Lee left in his wake before he almost snapped his neck, turning to glare at Sasuke and Sakura. Hey! What the hell is going on? No way in hell the Deadlast just went up against that speed freak. And make him forfeit. Shikamaru was less fierce, but agreed with Kiba as he too stared at Sakura and Sasuke, expecting an explanation. Sasuke, as expected, paid them no mind. The Pinkette sighed before turning to answer Kiba, only to blink to see many gazes on her. Shikamaru, Choji, Shino and Hinata were just as interested. Ino was less shocked, but still very curious. He trained. He said he started training seriously, rigorously, as we neared graduation. She felt a bit intimidated by all the stares. That's all. Bullshit. The Nara in their midst thought. With what I've seen, he could probably give Asuma-sensei a good workout. A leap in skill that great is impossible. I have no words. He blinked at that. A silent guy. Kakashi's fists clenched in happiness. Naruto was a godsend. How in the world did you train him? Kurenai was standing behind him, with Asuma standing next to her. A rookie genin defeating a genin like Rock Lee? And this Uzumaki Naruto was the genin graduated with the lowest grades, as I remember? Don't get me wrong, Kakashi. It's amazing, but it's a bit hard to believe it just happened. Asuma added in. That kid, the way he moved. It's a bit frightening. Kakashi shrugged as his eyes stayed on Naruto walking back to where the other participants stood. You don't know the half of it. I saw what he did. He infused the entire battleground with his chakra and just used the Kawarimi endlessly to avoid all of Lee's attacks, but, from what I saw, he has the speed to deal with it without all that chakra. Why waste so much chakra? Kakashi shrugged at Asuma. You know his situation. I don't believe he considers chakra cost at all. When Naruto rejoined the others, he couldn't help but glance at the remaining genin. Gaara was glaring at him with a certain promise in his eyes. Kankuro and Tenten were both frowning insecurely. Niji was a bit unsure how to glance at him and simply turned away. Naruto started walking over to Gaara with a grin on his face. Your demon won't have your back against me, Gaara. I will rip you apart. Tenten and Niji were confused, but Kankuro's eyes widened in shock at that as Naruto approached Gaara. Gaara's eyes were also widened. What? Never mind. The blonde casually leaned against the wall next to Gaara. Good luck fighting your coward brother. What did you say? Kankuro turned from fearful to raging as he had heard the words. You heard me. You look like a weakling about to forfeit, after all. You little shit, you're going to regret those words. Kankuro, forfeit. Ah, of course, Gaara. With the day done and a very disappointed crowd for having paid for 2 matches but seeing only one, Naruto was heading home. He had plans to make, but things were rather complicated. Assimilating Kabuto was very interesting, the perspectives and inside information he already had expanded greatly thanks to the bespectacled young man. His senses picked up on approaching people, namely Sasuke, Sakura, Kiba, Shikamaru, Ino, Hinata, Choji and Shino. Not necessary people he wanted to talk with at the moment. There was no use to them. He quickly used Shunshin to a quiet area, far away enough from the prying eyes of any Byakugan. Team Guy's training ground was empty, so he took the area for some contemplation. Orochimaru has probably already expanded his Otogakure by taking over Sunagakure. Should he tell the old man? Should he tell Gaara? He felt he should just leave it all alone, but didn't really know if that was smart. Orochimaru might be a valuable ally, but that was mostly Danzo's thinking. Danzo would have already killed all Sunanin in the village, but he could probably assimilate them all without repercussions if he told the old man. What to do? Maybe assassinate Orochimaru to get rid of a threat. Akatsuki's Akasuna no Sasori might near the village to investigate on the disappearance or death of Kabuto. Sasori's partner was Orochimaru, so the puppeteer would probably come alone. The Suna missing nin was powerful, but was he useful? Kugutsu was fun and all, but he felt like his ability went several levels further than puppetry. Akasuna no Sasori was his moniker, but what was his real name? The man knew his Fuuin jutsu. Could he be an Uzumaki? But he shouldn't think all redheads were Uzumaki, because then Gaara could be one too. Sabaka no Gaara was a moniker as well, after all. All Uzumaki had impressive chakra reserves, and both Sasori and Gaara did have that too. Something to look into later. Maybe he should use Sasori to infiltrate Akatsuki and slowly take control of it. Obito was still a problem and he really needed Kakashi to deal with that man. Yes, it was time to have a talk with the copycat. You have done splendid. Very, very splendid. Lee nodded his head excitedly. Gai-sensei. I want to become stronger. My eternal rival. He then glanced at Niji. I have to keep up and surpass with my eternal rivals. He corrected. Ho? You have more than one? Guy asked with his hands on his hips. Tenten and Niji rolled their eyes. Yes, Gai-sensei. Uzumaki Naruto-kun has become my eternal rival. And what have you learned from and of your rival? My limits. The young genin yelled instantly. I have, to my shame, learned nothing of him. Except that he is faster than I. Gai-sensei. The jonin blinked at the sudden interruption. Not that it was wrong, he just had gotten used to Niji and Tenten ignoring him and Lee most of the time. What is it, young Niji? He boomed out. Who is he? Who is who? Niji almost deadpanned, but chose for a glare instead. This man was intolerable sometimes. Uzumaki Naruto. The taijutsu expert failed to notice. He is the student of my eternal rival. The young Hyuga almost flared his Byakugan in anger. What do you know of him? He said after a second of two of inner rage. He is fast and has good intuition. He then pointed at Lee. Lee! Don't take this wrongly. But he was outmatching you completely. I watched the match with my Byakugan. Despite knowing Guy's favoritism towards Lee, Niji chose not to focus on Lee's ability to open more than one celestial gate. That Naruto is a rookie genin. He should be no one. I haven't gathered information, but I know a few things. Uchiha Sasuke was the rookie of last year, Naruto was obviously not. Guy nodded enthusiastically. It all points to young Naruto-kun having trained extensively. That is impossible. Uchiha Sasuke has the Sharingan, Uzumaki Naruto has nothing. He paused to correct himself. Other than a massive amount of chakra and the ability to block Byakugan. Tenten was blinking in surprise the more Niji spoke. She hasn't heard him speak this much during missions even when Guy chose him as lead. He can block your Byakugan. That was very intriguing to Guy. How? He only knew the Nara clan had developed something for that. He is. Niji seemed to fight for words. He is all dark. I cannot see anything except for the chakra in his eyes. He has a Dojutsu, then? Niji's glare returned. He was the one with the questions. I do not know. He was a bit alarmed to recognize the similarities it had with members of the Hyuga clan. But that was impossible. Why would a clanless have the Byakugan? Niji. He almost blinked at the sudden seriousness in his teacher's voice. But he was a Hyuga, blinking was ill-advised. From what I have seen, I believe Naruto will be victorious over you. A snarl came to his face, but he begrudgingly agreed with the assessment. I require extreme training, then. I can't believe a rookie genin can defeat Niji. Tenten was still a bit in shock. But it's true. The way he handled Lee was like the way you handle Lee, Guy-sensei. He is a rookie genin, yes. But let this be a lesson never to underestimate anyone. But hey! You have to train me too. I'm going against that rookie genin too. And me. Do not forget I am still in the competition. Guy shouted out to the skies, shocking all three of them. Super intense training commences now. Niji and Tenten wondered if this was a good decision or if they would regret this immediately. Wosh. Guy-sensei. Taps on the floor neared his office and he couldn't help but sigh. The Chunin exams this year was really a handful. What do you want, Danzo? He murmured as the Warhawk entered his office. He was a bit surprised that Naruto wasn't with him, but instead a gray-haired young man wearing glasses. He seemed vaguely familiar. Hiruzen, this is Yakushi Kabuto. Genin from Konoha. The fire leader gave a friendly nod. Very nice of you two to be here, but I don't believe you have an appointment with me, Danzo. Pressing matters, Hiruzen. Kabuto is multiple shinobi. Multiple? A spy? Several, yes. He is a spy for me, for Orochimaru and for Akasuna no Sasori. To be accurate, all that ceased to be the moment he crossed paths with Naruto. The third sighed tiredly. Yes, paths tend to end with our Naruto these days. He shot a glance at Kabuto. I would apologize for it, but it seems you've been trading information. You're lucky you are already dead. Danzo shrugged as he didn't really agree with being dead. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Naruto gave me the order to share all I know with you. Orochimaru, Akatsuki, Sunagakure, Uegakure and Kumigakure. The genin in the room all of a sudden revealed cards in his hands. I believe you will be pleased to see I have information on almost all shinobi. Unimpressed, but curious, Sarutobi leaned forward. Show me Uegakure and all of its A-ranked and higher shinobi. Danzo actually grinned instantly. Perhaps a bit early to buy a kunai, but could you be planning instigation? The aging leader of Konoha blinked at his former friend. Was Danzo smiling and actually being genuinely friendly? Curious. This ability of Naruto might work the other way around as well. No. I am not going to destroy Uegakure, Danzo. The Danzo expression of blankness was back, but he bit back a reply. Uegakure. Kabuto started as soon as he surmised the conversation between the older men was over, is dangerous. Two manageable Jinchuriki and they have the Akatsuki enlisted periodically as well. One would think Akatsuki is an Uegakure organization, but Akatsuki was founded in Amigakure. The strongest shinobi in Uegakure under the fence-sitter is his son Katsuchi and Konoha currently has many shinobi stronger. You know all the members of Akatsuki? I do. Now impressed, the Hokage folded his hands. Let's start with them. I am sorry. The clenched fists, the glare and the killing intent. He did not expect this, but he really should have. It's surprising to be caught off guard with all the knowledge he now held. I guess Danzo is rubbing off on me. I am really sorry, but I am not telling a lie. Your old teammate is still alive. You're lucky you're my student, Naruto. The killing intent didn't drop though. This is very personal to me. Danzo has the information. I have seen the confirmation. He was right in front of me, with the other Sharingan eye. Naruto. Kakashi warned. He is able to use a jutsu that makes his body intangible and can teleport him away. I believe it's a dojutsu technique. You should be able to use it as W. Naruto dodged the sudden attack from Kakashi using Shunshin. Kakashi might be a good test for me. Kakashi had his Sharingan eye out as he glared at Naruto. I changed my mind. Since you're my student, I should teach you a lesson. Focusing chakra into his eyes, Naruto grinned at Kakashi. Alright then, my teacher. Reprimand me. I know little of your eyes, Naruto. The Sharingan's final level results into Rinnegan. The Byakugan's final level results into Tenseigan. Hamura was very powerful, but also had a life full of suffering. Be careful. Heeding Kyuubi's advice, Naruto tried to pick up on anything his eyes saw. Hamura's eyes. He saw Kakashi's chakra vibrating, pulsating in a manner that told him he was controlling the chakra in his body perfectly. But chakra was running to Kakashi's Sharingan eye at a very alarming rate. He was losing too much chakra just standing still. Naruto narrowed his eyes. That would not do. Kakashi was his ally and he didn't need that crux. Focusing on Kakashi's chakra's pool, he froze it. Kakashi's eyes widened as he realized he lost control over his chakra. GK. Naruto's vision turned blurry and a headache hit him hard. But he kept focusing on Kakashi. Impressive, you halted his chakra circulation. Doing this will always stop any technique's execution. What did you do? Kakashi was shocked. He could still move, but he could just feel that he was as good as a civilian now. He had also noticed that his student's eyes had turned completely white. Naruto stopped focusing his chakra on the main source of Kakashi's chakra system. I stopped your chakra circulation. Your Sharingan is taking too much from you. I can help you with that. He had forgotten his rage over the mention of Obito, but Naruto talking about the Sharingan brought it back. He stopped though as Naruto coughed once. Ugh, really have to get used to how Dojutsu works. So you do have a Dojutsu. What a frightening ability, though. He could stop chakra flow with just a glance. But at what cost? Dojutsu techniques take crazy amounts of chakra. I'm good to go again. Good to go. You want to kick my ass for mentioning your long-lost friend. I deserve it. I went about it all wrong. I also want to test myself against you, sensei. Ah, yes. I do remember that. Yeah, so. All of a sudden, Naruto was on the ground with Kakashi sitting on his back. You still have a lot to learn, Naruto. Subtlety, for instance. Humph. With his face pushed into the ground, Naruto had nothing to say. If Obito is still alive as you say he is, then why wouldn't he have come back to Konoha? Peach. Well, I don't know if I should believe you. I'll ask Hokage-sama. Peach. Kakashi used Shunshin and was gone. Naruto dug his face out. Asshole. Your Dojutsu, have you noticed? Yeah, I can stop more than just chakra. I'm not sure, but I feel like I can stop the 5 senses. Maybe even organs. You have to work slowly. Stopping his chakra flow in turn stopped your lungs. Get used to the pay. Your eyes are powerful, but not toys. Shinzui Bunshin. Naruto gave the newly created extension of himself a good look over. What would happen if I use Rinne Tensei on this? You've created a Shinzui Bunshin of yourself. The Rinne Tensei will most likely not work. It is a technique that requires the soul. You want to safeguard yourself? The backlash of your Dojutsu is not a problem for my healing. We don't know what other payments there are. I am unsure if any backlash is permanent or not. This might be a solution. It might just create the perfect clone, you know. It's a Shinzui Bunshin. You are the original. There is only one original. He will not have your abilities. He does not have Shizentuda. How can I make a backup then? Don't be a fool. Life is not so convenient. What about you? You are a construct of chakra, yet you are a living, breathing creature with senses and thoughts and a soul as well. You can die, but you will be reformed. What are you saying, Naruto? I want to be like you, Kurama. Where everything I am is chakra. I want the ability to never die like the Bijou have. I want my abilities to be part of my chakra. What you want, then, is restriction. And why is that? We are always in danger. We are chakra and we have to abide by the rules of nature. Freedom for us is dangerous, as a slip-up can result in failure. Nature energy rules over chakra, or better put, we are part of nature energy. There's always the risk of us being drained into the energy stream, fighting for a chance to be reformed into the being you see before you. How do you fight this? Being sealed into Jinchuriki has the one great advantage we Bijou secretly crave. Which is, we get to rest. We get to sleep. Outside of a seal like the one that has me locked inside of you. If we sleep, we get drained into all the energy. If not completely, then always partially. He dispelled the Shinzui Bunshin and sat down on the ground with a slight scowl. I was actually planning on mastering nature energy. Will that be a problem? I do not know. I have always been assaulted by it. If it wasn't nature itself, it would be shinobi like Hamura and the Shodai Hokage. I am quite interested in seeing nature energy on my side. Naruto smiled and got up again. Perhaps we can find a solution. I don't want to be afraid to use my Dojutsu. Kakashi? It seems his shinobi had the tendency to just barge in today. Hokage-sama. The Hotake greeted. My student came with some disturbing news today. The look in the copycat's eyes seemed to have a tint of sadness in it. Hiruzen also noticed hope, though. What he told you is probably the truth. How? Well, it seems that some Uchiha aren't so easily killed. Kakashi turned confused. Apologies, I was actually not referring to Uchiha Obito. He had countless victories on his name and most of his opponents didn't even survive a minute against him in battle. Most he killed instantly. He never faced an opponent more than once. So it was very surprising to come face to face with Abuse, the king of the salamanders. Interesting, jutsu. You've managed to imprison the lands. His opponent, on top of the salamander, spoke calmly. And it hardly took any chakra, too. Could the reason be your comrade? Akasuna no Sasori, within his puppet Hiriko, was intrigued by this man's sudden arrival. He took a look at Pain to try and read his expression, but it was neutral as always. You died. The Deva Path spoke. I killed you thoroughly. You are not Hanzo. The legendary Hanzo was standing on Ibius. And yet I am. I believe this is my chance to avenge myself. Some distance away, Nagato was seething in rage, already using his chakra to send all his other paths towards his Deva path. A puppeteer and the gravity boy. Where are your brothers? Hanzo asked, referring to the other paths. You won't beat me with air blasts, boy. Although I can somehow tell both of you are immune to my poison. Sasori, with the way he was, could not feel fear or apprehension. But as someone joined Hanzo's side, he did get ready for a more serious battle. Facing Hanzo the Salamander and the second Tsukikage, Mu, would be very difficult. Orochimaru has performed the second Hokage's Edo Tensei. Sasori informed Pain. We cannot kill them as they are already dead. We need to seal them. With that, Nagato told Konan to join the fray. He himself was inferior to Sasori and Konan when it came to Fuinjutsu, despite being an Uzumaki. Peculiar. Itachi commented as he had his eyes closed, standing next to Kisame. We will need to retreat. We are facing an opponent who will swiftly defeat us. The shark-like man chuckled. Truly now? Us? Swiftly defeated? The second Hokage is approaching. Kisame's chuckle died down completely. Well shit. He has too many experience fighting Uchiha. I will fall quite easily, I believe. And his proficiency with the water element. I know. Kisame was already turning away. I will not survive a bout with that man. We need to convince Pain to retreat and undo the Kajuru Tensei. Itachi and Kisame were now quickly heading for their leader. They are also fighting a difficult battle. I do have a question, though. Kisame mentioned as they were running away. How is it that the second Hokage is alive? He isn't. Orochimaru used a forbidden jutsu to revive the dead. I see. The former Kirinin pursed his lips. That seems a bit unfair. But all goes in the shinobi world, I suppose. We now know we need to prepare. Orochimaru had not yet mastered the Edo Tensei when he joined the Akatsuki. He is now a great threat to our organization. I believe he should just join us again. Seems to be the much easier path to pursue. He attacked you and you chased him away, right? Itachi didn't like how that played out. He would probably lose his eyes if Orochimaru rejoined their organization. I don't think that's wise. Pain was just about to use Chibaku Tensei to throw Mu into the boulder when the man had the audacity to disappear. Even from his Rinnegan. He is known as Mujin, after all. Sasori's Hirako was gone and Sasori had revealed his true form. Be careful, he has the dust release. His other paths and Konan were close by, but that didn't mean Deva Path would wait to attack. You face Mu, I will face Hanzo. I've taken him down before. Sasori would snarl if he still could. Facing the dust release was dangerous, him being mostly puppet didn't make a difference here. I think we should retreat, Pain-sama. I can sense Itachi and Kisame approaching. They are also. He cut himself off as another player entered the scene. Deva Path didn't recognize the individual immediately. We need to retreat. That is the second Hokage. Fret not. Sasori and Deva Path watched how Obito appeared between them. Zetsu told me about the chakra levels in your dome, Pain. What are we going to do? Deva Path seemed completely unconcerned. Facing two puppets. I have already determined your true location, boy. Senju Tobarama, a renowned censor nin, said as he looked straight at Pain. As Deva Path remained seemingly unconcerned, Nagato was very much concerned now. Shinra Tensei. The gravitational blast was negated completely as the second Hokage used a water dome around Pain to contain the blast. Sasori was amazed, though it of course didn't show. Tobarama created a water dome as quick as Pain executed the Shinra Tensei. I tagged you already, puppet. The man was grinning as Pain was now stuck in a water dome. You're now cut off from your master. Just like that, the Nadame Hokage crushed the Deva Path like it was nothing. Next up. Obito moved and the Nadame moved with him. Unfortunately, the Nadame's attack slipped through Obito and the Uchiha moved to send him into another dimension, but the Nadame flashed away. Ho? An Uchiha under that mask able to wield Kamui? Tobirama calmly evaluated from several meters away. Rare, you have been through quite some emotional pain and lost everything you hold dear. The one ability that eluded even Madara. Who are you? Holding up his hands suddenly, Tobirama grinned over his shoulder. That's an awful lot of chakra for a single man. Unfortunately for you, your body is reliant on your surroundings. Kisame glared as he couldn't move his body, since the second Hokage had taken control of almost all of his chakra. His body was very dependent on the water in the air, it was the reason he was the tailless beast. He could change water molecules around him into his own chakra constantly. He was usually unbeatable, but against someone like the Nadame Hokage who had impeccable control over all water chakra, he stood no chance. That was when Itachi moved. The battle only lasted 2 seconds, as the two simply seemed to flicker around each other. You? How? The second Hokage lost both his arms and was bound by 2 kunai attached to strings, by a technique very similar to the Kage main. I saw through all 7 of your counters and acted accordingly. Itachi calmly explained as the kunai he used were infused with the shadow bind technique, binding his opponent effectively. You can escape from this technique in under a minute, so we need to move now. He had also foreseen that Mu and Hanzo wouldn't interrupt. Orochimaru was observing through them and was arrogantly amusing himself. Tobirama was intrigued as he regarded Itachi. You have developed new Dojutsu. Obito let out a sigh of relief. Tobirama was probably the only shinobi able to fight his Kamui. This was when Pain's remaining paths engaged Hanzo and Kisame Samehada told him where Mu was most likely lingering. No! Obito suddenly uttered to stop Kisame from moving as he performed Kamui to take him, Itachi, Kisame and Sasori away. The second would escape soon, after all. Nagato didn't like the end result of his paths, but he would create new ones. This meant, however, that Orochimaru will have more knowledge about him. You should use your abilities more wisely. The Rinne Tensei is not a toy, do not take it lightly. Yes, I know. I don't plan to use it too often. The backlash of the Rinne Tensei was quite fierce. It permanently takes away chakra from his reserves, as in all of the chakra. Thankfully, his Shizentuda compensated quite nicely for that. In his case, the borrowed chakra from absorbees were permanently taken. For Iruka, Kakashi and about a dozen of Chunin exam participants. But in all honesty, it was their own chakra that was used for the jutsu. It seemed fair, even a bit cheap for Naruto. But Kurama didn't agree as he quite liked having more and more chakra. This Nagato guy can also use jutsu of the Otsutsuki clan. As you and he are both Uzumaki, he might also be a true descendant. You should be careful, Naruto. Some of your opponents can still truly end your existence. I must use my Shizentuda more wisely as well. Your new ability is coming along quite nicely, though. Yeah, it came to me when I recalled Kyuubi Tensei, my mirror image technique. The way it is executed makes me think it's probably similar to how Nagato manages his paths. It might be. Anyway, I call it Denshi Tensei. My walking battery. The blonde grinned as he walked towards the stadium. It looks weird, so I have to work on its looks, but that would probably be something for the future. If you get the chance to. I just need someone with the ability to make things invisible. He shook his head to make his mind a bit clearer. Shaking his head had become somewhat of a habit thanks to the Shizentuda. Time to get bored. The persons fighting today were not announced, as stated by the rules. If it wasn't him fighting, it would be boring. It hurt. It stung, knowing something was terribly wrong with the things as they were now. He was a proud individual. No one dared to hinder him in anything. What a horrible place Konoha was. He had heard those words. He hated Uzumaki Naruto for uttering those words. What did that fool know? Who was the old man who took mother's voice away? Why were Temari and Kankuro always so useless? Why was Baki such a weakling? He couldn't stand it. Fuck father's plans, he wanted to go back to Sunagakure already. He had bore witness to 2 boring matches yesterday. Hyuga Niji had swiftly defeated his teammate Tenten and Rock Lee defeated his brother Kankuro easily as well. Today he was facing Uzumaki Naruto. He truly hated him, yes. The all-knowing grin and the smugness he was exuding were unbearable. If only he had Shikaku, then he would eradicate this miserable stain of excrement. You really think you can beat me with your demon, Gaara? Naruto murmured softly, careful enough to not let anyone else but the proctor hear. The old man who took him from you works for me, you know? The red-haired Sunanin snarled. I will kill you. No. Naruto allowed some redness in his eyes as he pinpointed killer intent through Gaara's senses. I will be killing you now, foolish, little Gaara. As if hit by a Bijudama, Gaara recoiled and realized he was in true danger here. He turned to the proctor and did the unbelievable. Proctor. He struggled a little. I forfeit. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki growled. Why the shit everyone forfeits is beyond me. The proctor was shocked, but he was sure not to show it. So far all of his opponents had forfeited, after all. Uzumaki Karen, Rock Lee and now even Sabaka no Gaara. Genma didn't believe this. Gaara was known as a loose cannon in Sunagakure, known for the lack of control of his bijou. Known for killing even jonin. And yet here he forfeits against Uzumaki Naruto, Konoha's dead last. There was no genjutsu. Definitely not. He checked, triple-checked. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. Kankuro didn't know what he had just witnessed. His little brother, the great mass murderer Sabaka no Gaara, had just forfeited against a genin. He was sure his older sister Temari was having a similar response. A short distance away in the crowd, Temari was telling Baki to stop clenching her hands so hard. What just happened? He whisper-shouted. What is wrong with Gaara? I don't know, sensei. She whispered back. Ever since that old man defeated him in the forest, Gaara has been acting weirder and weirder. Baki of course had heard of the incident. Did Konoha send someone in during the Chunin exams to neutralize Gaara? Kazekage-sama won't like this. He'll be coming here for the final matchup. Temari nodded. I'm not sure if that certain opponent is powerful or if Gaara is actually afraid. His opponent's name, I don't remember it. Uzumaki Naruto. He thrashed that taijutsu expert a few days ago. He's pretty good. But nothing Gaara wouldn't be able to handle. Usually yes. But ever since Gaara can actually sleep, things are different. Baki had a suspicion that the link between Gaara and Shikaku had somehow been compromised. It would definitely explain Gaara's behavior. Ha! That guy actually withdrew. Didn't foresee that. With one eyebrow rising, Shino turned to Shikamaru. You seem to be awake this time, Shikamaru-san. The Nara and the Aburame were sitting next to each other in the crowd. Yeah. He was simply outstripped. The Aburame continued. How do I know this? It is because my bugs hold knowledge despite not being able to veer near. An acute sense for chakra tells them Naruto holds much more chakra than Sabaka no Gaara. And Gaara sensed this as well. Shikamaru was confused. He didn't like being confused. Naruto is such a bother. He's an ass. Yeah, he is. Kiba hollered from behind Shikamaru. But he's making everyone forfeit. You think it's genjutsu, maybe? Both Aburame and Shikamaru shook their heads at the boisterous Inuzuka. Naruto's chakra control has always sucked. Remember his Bunshin no Jutsu? Shikamaru reasoned. And someone with a lot of chakra. Let's just say genjutsu for someone like that is like peeing your pants. It gets you nowhere but down. I concur. My bugs have not detected any illusionary techniques. Then why the hell did a dangerous-looking guy like that forfeit? I mean, even Akamaru tells me that red-haired guy is a run like hell away from guy. That's what I'm saying. Naruto is such a hassle. Man, should we forfeit as well against him? No. I won't. I will give him my best and I will take him down. He might have defeated Lee, but Lee knows only taijutsu. Tenten frowned at Niji. This Gaara guy, you know he's no pushover. He has a lot of chakra and control over Sand. Nothing to worry about. It all holds up with chakra, which I can break. Che, you posers won't stand a chance against Gaara. Kankuro suddenly walked up to them. He'll crush you all. Except for Naruto-kun. The green-clad boy was hanging over the railing watching Gaara and Naruto slowly make their way back. There's something wrong with that kid. Kankuro just didn't understand. He was defeated by the speedy Rock Lee yesterday, so he would most likely lose against Naruto. But Gaara was a different story. Why had Gaara forfeited? In cases of forfeits, there will be another match added to the schedule. Genma announced from the battlegrounds as Naruto and Gaara had made their way back to the balcony. The next match will be Rock Lee vs Tenten. Naruto rolled his eyes as he sat down, ignoring the glares from both Gaara and Kankuro. Niji considered talking to the dead last, but decided against it. Words will be shared during their inevitable matchup. I have one victory so far, Naruto has two. Tenten will lose against Lee, so that gives Lee 2 victories. Gaara has won since Kankuro forfeited against him. Kankuro and Tenten have none. Next match, Hyuga Niji vs Sabaku no Gaara. Blinking, he realized Lee had defeated Tenten already. That was to be expected since that also always happened during their spars. The Hyuga turned to Gaara with a condescending grin. Are you going to forfeit again? The Sand Genin glared at the Konohanin. An insect like you, I will crush easily. Niji scowled. He was usually the one talking people down. You and your Sand. I will deal with it shortly. They both moved down, getting pumped up. His Byakugan burned holes into his opponent. His chakra is in such chaos. There seems to be seal on his stomach causing it all. I know how to fight people like you. Dojutsu people are so easy to destroy. Goad all you want, I will break you down before you can put yourself together. These two. They seem quite alike. Genma was amused, this might make for an interesting fight. Begin. Suna Bunshin. Ignoring the single Sand clone Gaara created, Niji rushed forward to the real one, only to see a shield of Sand blocking his first strike. His Byakugan showed him the chakra workings of the technique and the effect his Juken had on it. The real one exploded into Sand, sending hardened spikes towards Niji. That's what he meant. He can somehow switch between his clones. He easily dodged everything and focused and the other Gaara. Your eyes won't help you. My ability with Sand surpasses your Dojutsu. Gaara maniacally grinned. I will end your life here. Gaara didn't remember his name. Niji cursed as his second Juken attack was again blocked. This shield of Sand is powerful. I'll have to use speed. Upping his Byakugan to its current limit, his environment slowed down. Now I can get past that pesky defense. Gaara's eyes widened as Niji's speed drastically increased. He quickly strengthened the armor of Sand on his body. Again Niji's strike didn't pull through and the Hyuga quickly jumped back to avoid getting skewered by Sand spikes or grabbed by Sand. You have a second defense. Niji surmised from a distance. This is taking longer than I expected. Gaara had turned interested. Show me. Show me what you can do. Using a high amount of chakra, the boy from the Sand had Niji surrounded by Sand closing in on him. Kaiten. During the heavenly spin, Niji could still see his surroundings and saw that the attack was taking huge amounts of chakra from Gaara's reserves. The Kaiten in turn, also took a lot from Niji. He needed to pinpoint a weak spot in this deadly sandstorm since Gaara's armor of sand and shield of sand were currently weakened because of the usage of this crazy sand attack. There! Niji stopped spinning in super speed and used a wider area-based attack of the Jukin to create a hole through the assault on him. Gaara noticed a chakra blast and felt Niji approach him. Before Niji reached him though, a woman appeared between them and shielded him from harm once again. The woman was made completely out of sand. Niji glared as his attack failed and he again had to create some distance. Gaara had let up as well, since he seemed just as shocked as Niji as the woman dissolved. What was that? Gaara whispered. That woman. 3 people had recognized the woman. 3 defenses. Niji was very annoyed. Don't tell me you have a 4th. But he saw Gaara's genuine surprise. Did that technique came unknowingly? Gaara shook his head and with that his confusion away. You're fast. I know how to deal with fast shinobi, too. I'm pouring too much chakra into my Byakugan. He has used a lot of his chakra, but he still has more than I do at this point. Niji considered his strategies. I'll have to use feints. Multiple. His 1st and 3rd defenses don't seem to be working on his commands, he can only control the 2nd, which also takes the most chakra. In a contest of endurance, Niji would not be too proud. He would definitely lose. He had to play smart. I have grown tired. Gaara uttered, lifting both his arms to the sky. Niji's eyes widened. There was sand everywhere. No escape. Niji used multi-Jukin strikes to slap and punch sand away from his person and near Gaara's location. I should not let up against this guy. He can take the chakra out of my sand with those strikes. Gaara observed. Niji danced around the shield of sand. He proceeded to triple feint the woman of sand trying to stop him from hurting Gaara. And he then pulsed out an overpowered Jukin strike to punch Gaara in the stomach. The Hyuga quickly jumped back. Getting close to Gaara was still dangerous. Your attacks weaken your defenses. Niji explained as Gaara fell to his knees. I can pierce them. But the attack did less than Niji hoped. The weird seal somehow hadn't responded at all to his Jukin strike. It's blocking chakra. But also seems to be containing chakra. How can I get past that? Usually he would just strike at chakra points and block off chakra, but the seal on Gaara's stomach seemed to be the only active chakra point. His Jukin seemed to be effectively blocked because of that. It also made the Hyuga wonder how Gaara could still perform techniques. Although, swinging sand around and making sand into figures might not be techniques considering his ability. I will be going for your heart and organs next. Niji announced. I was going to go easy on you, but it seems I cannot afford it. You actually hurt me. Gaara rose from his position. Recoiling, Niji had a hard time dealing with the sudden killing intent. And then the killing intent dropped completely as the woman of sand suddenly stood in front of Gaara. She's not dissolving. The woman also seemed quite threatening. What is happening? Before his eyes, he saw the woman of sand all of a sudden gain a chakra source. It's similar to the Kage Bunshin. Gaara seemed just as confused. This woman took chakra from me. Gaara's mother's chakra construct? Baki was stupefied. Is that? The San Jonin couldn't blame Temari for being completely baffled. She recognizes her mother. If this chakra construct is truly his mother's silhouette, then that Hyuga is not in such a good position. That's interesting. Kankuru's head whipped over to Naruto as the blonde joined him leaning over the railing. The puppeteer was completely weirded out as he kind of saw his mother in that sand figure of a woman. That thing actually has a presence. Naruto continued. That's not Gaara's constitution, although it is Gaara's chakra. Kankuru wasn't really listening as he had turned back to the match. What are you saying? How can you know that? The blonde glanced at Tenten and shrugged. I can just tell. I feel it. Who? Naruto-kun. Your instincts must be great to be able to feel that. Ignoring Lee, Naruto continued. I am impressed. I am quite curious as to how Gaara has acquired this ability. There seemed to be a dangerous glint in Naruto's eyes. It's almost like a Shinzui Bunshin. I may just have to kill that Gaara. Something feels different. Niji tentatively took a step to the left. That is not the same technique as before. This one seems to be offensive. He glanced past the figure towards Gaara. He still seems genuinely confused. Did he just come up with this technique? I have no control over this woman. Gaara was actually a bit frightened. But as the woman turned and glanced at him over her shoulder, Gaara felt warm. His heart started beating faster as he got the indication that this woman would protect him. Niji realized something different. His shield of Sand is not active. This Sand woman is responsible for the shield of Sand. Or, she is the shield of Sand. A sentient technique then? The Genin scowled. How annoying. He now had to face two opponents. But at least this woman had a normal chakra construct, one he could close down. With Gaara, he still had to go for the organs. Take down Gaara, take down everything. With an incredible burst of agility giving him Shunshin speed, Niji appeared behind Gaara to hit him in the head. At least, he would have, if the woman of Sand had not struck him in the stomach. Niji thought as he gasped for air. This Sand woman kept up with my speed. Struggling, Niji managed to not fall to his knees. But he dropped hard as the Sand woman decked him to the ground. He was unconscious. Gaara was utterly lost. The woman of Sand suddenly engulfed him in a hug. The shield of Sand and this woman of Sand were the same thing. That's what Gaara realized with this as she dissolved into him. A very peculiar technique. Covering up his Sharingan, Kakashi frowned at Sasuke. You've noticed as well, right? That female clone Gaara had created was something else. Not a clone. It was as if Gaara had not created it. My Sharingan showed me it was a separate entity, but tied to Gaara's chakra. A special ability? Kakashi and Sasuke both nodded at Sakura. It seems this Gaara has some nice tricks up his sleeve as well. He defeated Hyuga Niji, Konoha's strongest genin. The Uchiha snorted at his Jonin instructor. Perhaps, if it wasn't for Naruto. Kakashi pointed up at the balcony. It seems Gaara has drawn his curiosity. Even though the boy has already forfeited against him. They all saw Naruto leaning over the railing. It shows Gaara has good instincts, he knows which battles to fight. Sasuke observed Niji being carried away on a stretcher. Niji was strong, though. Much faster than I thought, too. His gaze fell on Gaara. He had to admit that he would have lost against Gaara. I would have liked seeing Gaara and Naruto fight, as well. It would have made for an interesting sight, yes. Sensei. How strong is Naruto? Sakura suddenly piped up. Honestly? Sasuke was also intrigued in the answer. He's probably the strongest in the Chunin exams. I would say he is high Chunin level. The copycat relayed. Probably a lot stronger, though. He thought to himself. He lost a lot of his troops, but he gained many in return. Losing Kabuto and Kimimaro still hurt, though. He still didn't know how and why Kimimaro would ever defect. Had to be Danzo's doing. And now he also didn't have anyone in Konoha gathering information for him. It was time to use some of his soldiers to infiltrate Konoha. Time to get bold. Tobarama Senju, Hatake Tsukumo and Uzumaki Kushina. They will be infiltrating Konoha. It was risky though, since he needed to close to keep his control tight. Tobarama had a crazy powerful rebelling presence and Kushina could come up with some sort of Fuinjutsu escape from the Edo Tensei. If he stayed close, they wouldn't be able to try anything. His target, or their target, is Danzo. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this what if and want to see next part of it, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. See you in the next video. Peace.